Hey everyone, I hope you're all having a great day. I sure am having a great day because I have just put out a new single with my project Zini. The single is called Fine, and it should be out either today or yesterday, depending on when this video goes up.
Remember what you said to me, the many times I was around. I always knew the place to be when I had nowhere else to go.
It always feels good to put out new music because when you write and you produce music, you always have these songs that are sort of part of you. And before they're released, they're always in this sort of perpetual state where you don't feel like you're completely done with them. And once you put something out, and that's sort of a final release in that way, both literally and metaphorically, I guess. And so it feels really good to put this song out. It's a song I'm very proud of. It's a song that has a great meaning to me because of the context in which it was written. I don't know if any of you have heard the song yet. The lyrics are clearer than usual when it comes to me. My lyrics are usually a little more cryptic. These lyrics are pretty on the nose sometimes. And maybe some of you have guessed that the song is definitely about things like loss, about missing someone, and about appreciating life in some way. In fact, this song was written in 2019 when my grandmother passed away. She had been not well for a couple of years before that, and in 2019 she passed away. And so the story behind the song is that the very same day that she passed, I was sitting with my guitar and I just wrote this song basically in one stretch, you could say. That rarely happens. Music, for the most part, writing music is more like trying to figure out a puzzle or trying to solve some sort of mathematical problem, which makes it sound incredibly unromantic. But a lot of the time, that's what music composition is. You're trying to figure things out. It can be very sort of structured and mathematical almost, right? But sometimes there are those moments when a song just kind of comes out of nowhere, like seemingly from some divine influx or something, right? And this was one of those cases. And a lot of the time, those will become some of your best songs. They may not be the most complex in terms of composition, but a lot of the time, those more simpler songs, the songs that just come from some sort of spontaneous inspiration, those are usually pretty good because they come from a pure place of inspiration. And that was the case here. It was very clear that what I was writing was a direct reflection of what I was feeling over the passing of my grandmother, which had taken place that very day. So it's a very personal, it's not a sad song because there's a positive kind of tone to the lyrics, but it deals definitely with themes of loss and what I was feeling at that time. And so that's the story behind the song. I wrote that day in one stretch, and then it obviously hasn't been released for a couple of years. I recorded it during the pandemic in 2020. Partly at home actually, and partly in a studio environment. And the whole song was written that day, except for the very last section of the song. So there's a sort of outro, which we came up with while we were in the studio, just sort of on the fly. I thought it was a really cool way to end it. But aside from that outro, nothing has really changed at all from the way it sounded when I wrote it. And that was purely intentional. This song, just looking at it sort of objectively and from sort of a critical standpoint, I don't feel like it's my best song. There are certainly, that's, I guess, depends on how you look at it, but there's certainly lines, like lyrical lines in there that I sort of cringe at when I hear them. There are certain melodies that I would maybe want to change if I was writing it today or if I was coming back to it afterwards. But I decided to leave it exactly as it was because it was such a pure moment of inspiration. And what I was saying in that moment, both melodically and lyrically, came obviously directly from the heart while I was in the middle of that situation. And to me, music is it's not about sounding good. I mean, sounding good is important. The music actually being pleasant to listen to, that can be an important aspect of it. But to me, music is also about capturing a certain feeling, right? Capturing a moment, in this case, a very sort of personal expression, capturing a very specific, very, very vulnerable moment in my life. And so if I had come back to that song, just a few days later or even later on and changed things, that would sort of interrupt or at least in my head, would sort of mess with the pure essence of that song, which is that it was so spontaneous, that it was such a moment of inspiration. And so I wanted to leave it exactly as it was, as a direct expression of what I was feeling at that time, regardless if I cringe at the lyrics or want to change certain melodies. I think the fact that it remains exactly as it was back then, aside from that outro, is part of the whole point of this song. And the same idea is also kind of behind the production and the arrangement of the song. It's very scaled down, it's very simple. There is a guitar, which is the instrument I wrote it on, there are vocals, and then we added some mellotron, which sort of almost string section-y mellotron sounds that makes the sound a little bigger and creates some nice harmonies also. And there is some vocal lines. If you know my music, you know I like to have those reverby kind of vocals that go all around. There's that, which creates a certain atmosphere there. And then at the end, we also added that outro section, which is me on the piano and two amazing musicians, Alex Gatica and Robin Kulbai on percussion, on drums. I think I have a clip of them playing that in the studio, actually. So again, except for the outro, the last part of the song, which does stand out a bit, which is a bit more bombastic, the song is very scaled down. It's very simple. It's very clean and raw in its production, which is also on purpose for the same reason that I wanted to keep the song just as it was lyrically and in terms of composition. I wanted to keep it raw in its production and arrangement as well, which is why it is very scaled down. Now, some people may not like that. Some people might probably find this song a bit long, a little boring, because there's not that much happening arrangement-wise, but that is also on purpose, because the idea was to keep the song as raw and as pure as possible, pure being defined as close to the original moment of inspiration as possible. So obviously Fine is a very personal song. I am being very vulnerable, which, more so than I'm used to. Someone said something really good once, I can't remember who it was, but he or she said that you're supposed to cringe a little bit at your lyrics because that means you're being true to yourself in some way. You're being vulnerable. You're exposing aspects of yourself that are actually essential, rather than hiding behind some sort of layer of nice lyrics or nice words of who you want to appear outwardly. You're actually exposing who you are truly, if there is such a thing. Maybe that speaks to the way I feel about some aspects of this song, which does feel a little, which I do cringe at a little bit, right? That feels a little vulnerable, but I think that's probably a good thing. That means I'm being real. That means that the song is actually resonating with things that I'm feeling at a very deep level, or at least felt at a very deep level when I wrote it. So basically that's the story behind Fine. The song is out now. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it should be here on YouTube, on the Zini channel, and perhaps I've uploaded it on this Filip Holm channel too. Regardless, you can find it. I will leave some links to the song if you're interested in listening to it, and I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feelings and your opinions on the song, so feel free to leave those in the comments here or in whatever place you feel like leaving a comment. I look forward, of course, to sharing more music. There is more music coming soon too, and more videos about all other kinds of topics related to music. And I will see you then.
time.